As soon as the words of the devouring demon emperor, now transformed into human form, fell, the space behind him collapsed. A figure, also engulfed in towering demonic energy, pierced through the void and surged directly toward Lin Dong and the others. A distance of 100,000 miles was covered in just a few breaths. The figure was shrouded in purple-black demonic energy, which spread out like a terrifying storm. This overwhelming demonic power was even stronger than that of the previous alien demon emperor. From the perspective of spiritual energy in the Great Thousand Worlds, this person's aura had already reached the peak of 4th grade supreme and was on the verge of touching the threshold of 5th grade supreme. Heh, martial ancestor Lin Dong. I've heard you defeated the alien demon emperor, the approaching figure spoke. It was none other than the emperor of the devouring demon clan, the devouring demon emperor. Boom. The terrifying, boundless demonic energy behind the devouring demon emperor transformed into an enormous vortex of demonic energy. Its power was so immense that it caused the entire dimension to tremble. From within this vortex, a colossal, ancient demonic king's body emerged, radiating a destructive force that enveloped 100,000 miles. Among this demonic aura, there was even an energy that seemed capable of devouring everything. The giant figure of the devouring demon king, nearly 10,000 miles tall, loomed behind the devouring demon emperor. Then, the devouring demon king clenched his fist and suddenly pulled back. At that moment, all eyes were horrified to witness the space within tens of thousands of miles around them bending toward his fist. Space twisted, as if being sucked into a black hole, warping and funneling in one direction. Devouring space. The power of the devouring demon emperor was so great that it could even consume space itself. Boom. Above the sky, an enormous mass of space was condensed into a massive torrent of spatial energy by the devouring demon emperor. As he changed his hand seals, the devouring demon king, standing behind him, reached out and grabbed the torrent. With a single movement, the enormous space torrent was sent hurtling toward Lin Dong with world-shattering force. "What terrifying power!" said the Lord of Life and Death and the others from a distance, their voices filled with awe. This level of strength was likely beyond even the alien demon emperor's capabilities. Boom. The enormous spatial torrent in the sky blotted out the sun as it howled toward Lin Dong and the others. Within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles, everyone, whether demon or survivor from the Wu Yuan dimension, fled in panic, fearing being caught in the wake of such terrifying force. "To be threatened by spatial power in my own domain," Lin Dong murmured, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the oncoming spatial torrent. "Let me handle this." A black-robed elder stepped forward, raising his hand, preparing to intervene. He knew that Lin Dong's power was only at the peak of 3rd grade supreme, while the opponent was nearing 5th grade supreme, an obvious gap in strength. "Old Liu, let him deal with it himself." "You underestimate him too much," said another black-robed elder, smiling faintly. He believed Lin Dong could handle the attack, knowing that when Lin Dong had first arrived in the Great Thousand Worlds, even with just his spiritual energy harmonized, he had forced back a mid-stage 5th grade supreme. The person Lin Dong had defeated at that time was now too afraid to return to the continent he once called home. Lin Dong's sheer strength and potential were one factor, but his connection to the Great Thousand Alliance also played a part. Buzz. Lin Dong looked up at the sky where the spatial torrent descended. A silvery light spread out from his body, enveloping 100,000 miles of space, turning it into a brilliant silver. Clink. A profound rune glowing with silver light shot out from Lin Dong's body and expanded in the air, transforming into a towering space ancestral talisman. With a cold voice, Lin Dong spoke, and the face of the devouring demon king, now shrouded in silver light, began to show signs of shock. In midair, not only was the spatial torrent completely frozen, but even the devouring demon king's body was locked in place by a force of confinement. The colossal space ancestral talisman radiated dazzling silver light, enveloping the entire dimension. Within a radius of 100,000 miles, space itself was frozen solid under this brilliance. The swallowing demon emperor's expression twisted with fury, for his body was now utterly immobilized, as though bound by an unseen force. How is this possible? Even if he's assimilated with the power of the third grade supreme after returning from the Great Thousand Worlds, he shouldn't have this kind of strength. In the distance, the Blood Demon Emperor's shock was evident as he gazed at the incapacitated Swallowing Demon Emperor. The realization quickly struck him. The power of dimensions? He possesses a dimension embryo. The Devouring Demon Emperor's trembling voice echoed across the heavens. He had finally recalled how the alien Demon Emperor had met his demise long ago. There were only 3 possibilities for someone to annihilate the alien Demon Emperor. The return of a dimensional shackles breaker from the Great Thousand Worlds, a breaker wielding control over the dimension embryo, or, most terrifying of all, a breaker who returned from the Great Thousand Worlds and mastered the dimension embryo. It was likely the alien Demon Emperor perished under the second scenario. Yet now, they seemed to face the third. What Lin Dong had just unleashed bore an uncanny resemblance to the very essence of dimensional power. It's not the dimension embryo. As the Blood Demon Emperor reeled in terror from Lin Dong's power, the voice of the Devouring Demon Emperor resounded from behind. His figure soon materialized before the Blood Demon Emperor. The Blood Demon Emperor, upon seeing the Devouring Demon Emperor approach, immediately displayed a deferential attitude. Among the 3 Demon Emperors, the Devouring Demon Emperor was unquestionably the strongest. The 4,000 great demon clans were divided into the lower 3,000, the middle 800, and the upper 200 clans. The Devouring Demon clan belonged to the elite 200. By contrast, the Blood Demon Emperor and Swallowing Demon Emperor, who originally hailed from the lower 3,000, had ascended to the middle 800 solely by allying with the Devouring Demon clan. That power, it didn't originate from this dimension? The Blood Demon Emperor was taken aback by the Devouring Demon Emperor's words, prompting him to inquire. Super dimensions are not ordinary dimensions. Those who break through the dimensional shackles here and ascend to the Great Thousand Worlds typically possess the potential to reach the Earth's supreme stage. What makes super dimensions unique is that, apart from the dimension embryo, they also harbor a force born at the dawn of the dimension's creation. While this force isn't exactly dimensional power, it is one of the purest energies of heaven and earth. The Devouring Demon Emperor's gaze fixed on Lin Dong in the distance, who had completely immobilized the Swallowing Demon Emperor and his colossal demonic form. What Lin Dong had just unleashed was undoubtedly this primordial power of heaven and earth. The Devouring Demon Emperor's conjecture was remarkably accurate. Lin Dong had indeed harnessed the power of the 8 great ancestral talismans, birthed at the inception of heaven and earth. The power he had wielded was none other than that of the space ancestral talisman. This revelation wasn't just a shock to the Blood Demon Emperor. It also deeply resonated with Lin Dong himself. At this moment, he truly grasped the profound strength of spiritual energy. In his past battle against the alien Demon Emperor, he had used primordial energy to channel the 8 great ancestral talismans. Yet the effect had been minimal, only barely matching his opponent. Now, having transformed his primordial energy into spiritual energy during his time in the Great Thousand Worlds, Lin Dong's control over the ancestral talismans had reached a new pinnacle. With spiritual energy, the space ancestral talisman could now seal even a foe like the Swallowing Demon Emperor, who surpassed him in rank. This disparity clearly demonstrated the superiority of spiritual energy from the Great Thousand Worlds over the shadow-like primordial energy of the lower dimensions. Swoosh! Lin Dong's figure vanished mid-air, reappearing directly before the immobilized, Swallowing Demon Emperor. His indifferent gaze locked onto the demon's enraged and contorted face, as an overwhelming surge of spiritual energy, accompanied by millions of violet gold dragon patterns, erupted from his body. He's trying to kill the Swallowing Demon Emperor. The Blood Demon Emperor's face twisted with urgency as he saw Lin Dong unleash his full strength. Without hesitation, he tore through the void with terrifying speed, charging toward Lin Dong. Clang! Before the Blood Demon Emperor could approach, a fearsome blade light slashed through the air, severing even space itself. He halted abruptly, his gaze narrowing at the sudden and formidable presence before him. A figure slowly emerging, wielding a 3-foot-long azure sword. Ling Qingzhu. You cannot proceed. Ling Qingzhu's calm yet resolute eyes met the Blood Demon Emperor's as she raised her azure sword. Millions of purple-gold dragon patterns erupted from Lin Dong's body, swirling around him. Behind him, they transformed into a massive dragon silhouette, roughly 100,000 zhang in size, blocking the sky and the sun. Behind the purple-gold dragon figure, 2 enormous dragon wings, each hundreds of thousands of zhang long, spread open, releasing an oppressive force so terrifying that the entire dimension seemed unable to withstand it, enveloping every corner of the realm. Roar! A thunderous dragon roar echoed, turning into winds and thunder that swept through the heavens and the earth. As a deep voice rumbled from Lin Dong's mouth, a gigantic dragon claw, tens of thousands of zhang in size, slammed down toward the swallowing demon emperor. Azure Dragon Sky-Breaking Seal. Boom! As Lin Dong's dragon claw crashed toward the swallowing demon emperor, the surrounding space collapsed under the sheer force. Far in the distance, the Blood Demon Emperor, blocked by Ling Qingzhu, could not offer any support in this dire situation. However, just as Lin Dong's claw was about to strike the swallowing demon emperor, a mournful cry suddenly resounded across the heavens and the earth. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed slightly as he saw a figure, entirely black, tear through space and appear behind the swallowing demon emperor. It was none other than the devouring demon emperor. Did you really think that defeating the alien demon emperor would allow you to act recklessly before me? The devouring demon emperor looked at the massive dragon claw coming down, and with a slow lift of his hand, a terrifying wave of demonic energy erupted from his body. Half-step Earth Supreme. Feeling the overwhelming power radiating from the devouring demon emperor, Lin Dong's heart shook. This power had surpassed the ordinary Supreme stage, reaching the level of a half-step Earth Supreme. With just one more step, the devouring demon emperor would break into the Earth Supreme stage. Ding! The devouring demon emperor extended a finger, and a massive mountain of demonic energy formed in front of him, completely solidified from the swirling demonic power. An immense pressure of heaven and earth radiated from the peak of the demonic mountain. The manifestation of heaven and earth. This was a powerful technique only accessible to Earth Supremes, similar to spatial rifts. If they were in the Great Thousand Worlds, a half-step Earth Supreme would not have been able to manifest such a technique. However, in this lower dimension, where the level of the realm was much lower than the Great Thousand Worlds, the devouring demon emperor was able to wield the heaven and earth manifestation with his half-step Earth Supreme strength. Boom! The immense mountain of demonic energy collided with the purple-gold dragon claw descending from the sky. The collision created an explosive force of terrifying proportions. Heh! A demon emperor of the extraterritorial evil clan. I suppose it's up to us too to keep you entertained. A faint laugh suddenly echoed through the heavens. Immediately, 2 shadows pierced through the distant sky, appearing before the giant demonic mountain. Who? The sudden appearance of these figures exceeded the devouring demon emperor's expectations. 2 elders from the Great Thousand Alliance, facing the incoming mountain, channeled their spiritual power to its peak. 2 powerful spiritual auras, both at the pinnacle of the 9th grade Supreme stage, instantly enveloped a vast area of tens of thousands of miles. Then, the 2 black-clad elders struck simultaneously, slamming their palms into the towering demonic mountain. Boom! The combined strength of these 2 9th-grade Supreme experts was enough to rival a half-step Earth Supreme. The massive mountain rapidly collapsed under their combined force. As the devouring demon emperor's devastating attack was halted by the Great Thousand Alliance's experts, Lin Dong's eyes flashed with cold light, and the massive purple-gold dragon claw once again shot toward the swallowing demon emperor. Boom! Before the devouring demon emperor could react, the terrifying purple-gold dragon claw crashed into the swallowing demon emperor without mercy. The overwhelming force shattered the space around the swallowing demon emperor, and the terrifying energy poured directly into him. Poof! As the dragon's power shattered the space confinement, the swallowing demon emperor, still recovering from his restraints, had no time to react before the massive purple-gold claw slammed into him. The overwhelming force shattered his body, destroying his demon form. The swallowing demon emperor was sent flying, crashing into a mountain range. The destructive shockwave caused the earth within a radius of nearly 10,000 miles to collapse, creating a colossal pit nearly 100,000 zhang in size. Within the pit, the swallowing demon emperor was already beyond recognition, his fate sealed. Lin Dong struck with a palm, smashing the swallowing demon emperor, causing the surrounding space to ripple. Lin Dong's figure gradually merged into the void, and in the next moment, he appeared before Ling Qingzhu in the distance. He looked at the Blood Demon Emperor opposite him. The Blood Demon Emperor's strength was comparable to the Swallowing Demon Emperor, reaching the level of 5th grade supreme. As for the extraterritorial evil clan that was invading the Wu Yuan dimension, Lin Dong would never let them off. Upon seeing Lin Dong casually kill the Swallowing Demon Emperor with a single palm, the Blood Demon Emperor's heart surged with shock. According to the Devouring Demon Emperor, Lin Dong should have already gained control of the dimension embryo of this plane. Yet, Lin Dong defeated the Swallowing Demon Emperor, who was at the same level as himself, without even using the power of the dimension embryo. If he had used it, the outcome might have been far worse for him. Of course, the Blood Demon Emperor didn't know that at this moment, Lin Dong didn't actually have the dimension embryo. What terrifying power! Several tens of thousands of miles away, on a piece of shattered land, the 6 great lords and Qingzhi had already retreated to this place. They watched the battle unfolding in the distance, their faces filled with awe. The level of the battle was beyond their ability to intervene. Are those 2 old men brought by Lin Dong? Their strength is terrifying. The Lord of Life and Death looked at the distant scene. From his perception, the aura emanating from the 2 elderly men in black seemed even more formidable than their master, Fu Zhu. Meanwhile, in front of the group, the Devouring Demon Emperor looked at the 2 black-robed old men who suddenly appeared. He then glanced at the Swallowing Demon Emperor, who had been struck down by Lin Dong and was presumably dead. An unprecedented rage surged within him. How dare you kill the prince of my extraterritorial clan? A deep, furious voice erupted from the Devouring Demon Emperor. Then, a vast surge of demonic energy erupted from his body, flooding the heavens and earth like a tide. The purple-black demonic energy soared into the sky, forming a massive purple-black screen several million miles in size. This enormous screen continued to expand, covering the entire sky of the plane, plunging the world into darkness. This is a high-grade demonic artifact. Seeing the massive black screen in the sky, a surge of shock flooded the hearts of the 2 elderly men from the Great Thousand Alliance. A high-grade demonic artifact was on par with a high-grade divine artifact from the Great Thousand World. How could such a thing appear in the hands of the Devouring Demon Emperor? What is this thing? The 6 great lords and others also looked at the scene before them, astonished. At the same time, within a hall in the Dao Sect mountain range, which had been shielded by Lin Dong and was unaffected by the waves, Lin Xiao and some important members of the Lin family watched the terrifying scene unfolding before them. What's happening? How is Xun'er? Lu Yin looked up at the boundless black screen in the sky, her voice full of worry. It's fine. Xun'er will definitely resolve this situation, Lin Xiao said, gripping Lu Yin's hand and comforting her. Meanwhile, in the distance, Lin Dong, who was preparing to deal with the Blood Demon Emperor, saw the vast black screen spreading across the sky. The terrifying fluctuations had surpassed any of the divine artifacts he carried. Haha, this is the top-tier demonic artifact of my 4,000 great demon clans, the Devouring World Demonic Mirror. Now, wait for the entire plane to be devoured. The Blood Demon Emperor laughed loudly, looking at the massive black screen that covered the sky. Hearing this, Lin Dong's expression shifted slightly. Crack. At that moment, a cracking sound suddenly echoed from the sky, causing everyone's heart to tremble. The entire world fell silent at the sound of the fracture. Even the Devouring Demon Emperor's expression froze completely. After a few breaths, a trembling voice finally came from his mouth. What is that? Crack. The massive purple-black screen began to crack rapidly, with sunlight breaking through the gaps. The rays of the sun began to shine down onto the plain. What's going on? Lin Dong and Ling Qingzhu both looked at the sudden change in the sky, both astonished. Just as Lin Dong's voice fell, bang! With a loud crash, a massive section of the purple-black screen, spanning tens of thousands of miles, collapsed from the sky. Countless shards of the black screen scattered across the heavens and earth like black raindrops. After the massive, shattered black veil, there was a gigantic dimensional portal. At this moment, the entire Wu Yuan dimension seemed to have become completely open, with all dimensional barriers vanishing without a trace. The enormous dimensional tunnel connected to another world, one that appeared to be an endless, vast ocean. At the end of the view, two massive continents, separated by tens of thousands of miles but intricately connected, came into view. As everyone gazed upon these two continents, their familiar structures struck them with an overwhelming sense of recognition. The terrain was unmistakable, and an unprecedented shock, accompanied by a single thought, surged into everyone's minds. Could it be another Wu Yuan world? Lin Dong also stared at the vast world beyond the dimensional portal. Then, a hearty laugh echoed from the other world and reached this dimension. Ha, Lin Dong. It seems like things aren't going too well for you inside. Lin Dong. It seems like you're in trouble over there. Boom. The faint laughter, accompanied by a formidable, otherworldly power, shattered the massive black veil surrounding the Wu Yuan dimension. It broke apart into countless black fragments, which scattered toward the ground below. However, before these fragments could hit the ground, they transformed into wisps of malevolent demonic energy and dissipated into the air. With the disappearance of the enormous black veil, a far more shocking sight appeared before everyone. A gigantic dimensional portal, as vast as the heavens, now linked this world to an even grander one. As this enormous portal manifested in the sky, all the Yuan energy in this realm seemed to sense an ominous presence and began to wildly surge out of control. Vast spiritual energy began pouring from the Great Thousand Worlds, flooding the Wu Yuan dimension. Instantly, everyone within the Wu Yuan dimension felt an intense and terrifying heat surging from their energy core, spreading through their limbs and bones. Even the six great lords and Qing Ji's group began to look troubled, quickly sitting down to suppress the turmoil in their Yuan energy. This is bad. The spiritual energy is assimilating the Yuan energy. Lin Dong, who was confronting the Blood Demon Emperor, suddenly noticed the strange situation within the Wu Yuan dimension, his expression changing drastically. He recognized the cause. The heat within their energy cores was the result of the spiritual energy from the Great Thousand Worlds beginning to assimilate the Yuan energy of the entire Wu Yuan dimension. Lin Dong, along with Ling Qingzhu and the others, had once experienced this terrifying process. How could this be possible? Who is behind this? How can they open this entire dimension to the Great Thousand Worlds? The devouring demon emperor looked up at the gigantic dimensional portal in the sky, his face filled with shock. To transform the entire dimension into a gateway to the Great Thousand Worlds was far beyond his imagination. If a supreme stage expert could reach the peak of a superdimension and break the barriers to enter the Great Thousand Worlds, then a Earth Supreme could become a giant in the Great Thousand Worlds and open a stable dimensional portal to a lower dimension. This would allow powerful individuals to travel directly to the Great Thousand Worlds through the portal. However, to open an entire dimension to the Great Thousand Worlds and exchange all the energy from a lower dimension for spiritual energy from the Great Thousand Worlds was beyond the reach of even an Earth Supreme. Only someone at the Heavenly Supreme stage could achieve such a feat. Heavenly Supreme. A tremor of disbelief and shock filled the devouring demon emperor's voice as he slowly spoke. His expression changed drastically. What was the Heavenly Supreme? It was a being who could control an entire dimension with pure power, even without a dimension embryo. To think such a being appeared before him. Ding! A soft bell-like chime rang through the skies, and then a vast, boundless spirit array unfolded across the heavens. Brilliant golden light radiated from the massive array, enveloping the entire Wu Yuan dimension. As this dazzling golden light covered them, All those who had been feeling the madness of the spiritual energy assimilation within their bodies experienced the heat within their energy cores gradually being suppressed. What is this power? On the broken ground, the 6 great lords, including the Lord of Life and Death, sat cross-legged. They felt the new, powerful force emerging within them and exclaimed in surprise. They could sense that their primordial energy was being transformed into a more potent and domineering force. Compared to this new power, the energy they had cultivated before seemed almost illusory. High above, Lin Dong and the 2 women, Ling Qingzhu and another, stood suspended in midair. They gazed at the enormous dimensional portal in the sky and the vast, golden spirit array where the portal intersected with the Wu Yuan dimension. He, Lin Dong. It seems your dimension is once again under attack by the extraterritorial evil clan. A faint laugh echoed. Lin Dong's gaze pierced through the Wu Yuan dimension, and there, at the other end of the portal, he saw a small figure floating in midair. It was a young man, none other than the Grand Master of the Great Thousand Alliance, a genuine heavenly supreme. The dimensional portal has been completed. I no longer need the dimension embryo. I'll return it to you. The young man from another world stood with his hands behind his back, gazing at Lin Dong through the dimensional token. A faint light appeared before him, forming the shape of a human fetus. This was the dimension embryo of the Wu Yuan dimension. What? The dimension embryo wasn't with him? Hearing the young man's words, the devouring demon emperor and the blood demon emperor saw the dimension embryo appear before him and finally understood why Lin Dong hadn't used the true power of the dimension during their earlier battle, instead relying on the primordial energy, which was just below the dimensional power. It turned out that the dimension embryo had never been in Lin Dong's hands. The dimension embryo appeared and immediately pierced through the dimensional barrier, rushing toward Lin Dong. Before he could react, it had already entered his body. Blood demon, run! Seeing the dimension embryo return to Lin Dong's body, an unprecedented fear surged within the devouring demon emperor. He could no longer concern himself with the 2 ninth-grade supreme experts from the Great Thousand Alliance facing him. With a roar, he leapt into the air and shot toward the vast, high-altitude dimensional rift that stretched for hundreds of thousands of feet. Upon seeing the devouring demon emperor lose all will to fight, the blood demon emperor's expression changed drastically. His surroundings shifted, and he too charged toward the dimensional rift in the sky. The 2 demon emperors, who had once been so arrogant, were now fleeing in utter panic. They knew their chances of victory were 0. This realization came not only from confirming that Lin Dong had the dimension embryo, but also from the arrival of a heavenly supreme expert, someone even more terrifying than Lin Dong, who controlled the dimension embryo. The 2 demon emperors fled, ignoring the demon clan warriors who had accompanied them. Saving their lives was all that mattered. Do you think you can escape after trampling this dimension like this? Just as the devouring demon emperor and the blood demon emperor were only a few thousand feet away, Lin Dong's furious voice suddenly rang through the dimension. Buzz. As a humming sound echoed, a serene light began to emanate from Lin Dong's body, spreading at a terrifying speed throughout the entire Wu Yuan dimension. Everything, including time itself, seemed to freeze at that moment.